Hello and welcome. I'm Amritan Shira and you're watching Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha TV. Today we bring to you the Transgender Person Protection of Rights Bill 2016. To discuss the issue, I have with me Amrita Sarkar, consultant at Sati, and Sonal Mehta, CEO, India HIV/AIDS Alliance. Now for the highlights. The bill creates a third gender and grants rights to transgender to choose the gender of their choice. It empowers district magistrates to issue certificates of third gender to transgender. And provides for punishment for up to 2 years for violation of the law. The Transgender Person Protection of Rights Bill recognizes and creates a third gender and grants the right to transgender to choose a gender of their choice. According to the last census, there are nearly 5 lakh persons who had categorized themselves as neither male nor female but the other category. All such persons are likely to benefit from this law.
The transgender community is among the marginalized communities in the country, as they do not have a gender identity till date. This is so because they do not fit into the general categories of gender of male or female. Due to this, they have faced problems ranging from social exclusion to discrimination. The Constitution guarantees all persons equality before law and prohibits discrimination on the ground only of sex. But these rights have continued to elude the transgender community. The Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill seeks to end the discrimination faced by the transgender. The bill recognizes, identifies and grants rights to the third gender.
We need to give them recognition by practical aspects. I mean, like banks. Banks should give them loan facilities, some simple processing, like startups. If they wish to do certain entrepreneurship, they should be given help so that they may change from the traditional employment kind of thing to certain thing which they can demonstrate practically.
The Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill 2016 defines transgender person as neither wholly female nor male, combination of male or female, neither female nor male. The bill prohibits discrimination against a transgender person, including denial of service or unfair treatment in relation to education, employment, healthcare and access to facilities. It also prohibits discrimination against opportunity to hold public or private office.
The bill talks about that no establishment should be allowed to discriminate against transgender people, but again there's no mechanism provided. So if a company or a school or a college does not give admission to a transgender person, what does that person do? Where do they go with their complaint of discrimination? Nothing in the bill.
The Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill proposes to create a National Council of Transgender Persons (NCT) and start schemes to provide transgender scholarships, textbooks and hostel accommodation. The Council will advise the government on the formulation and monitoring of policies, legislation and projects with respect to welfare of transgender persons.
Experts believe that transgender should be given the same respect which other humans get. They too have the right to decide their gender expression and identity. Even government gives the power to transgender to fight for their right. With cameraman Sudipto Das, Nishtha Malhotra for Rajya Sabha Television.
The definition attempts to cover all spheres of transgender, but what, according to you, ma'am, is the problem with the definition? See, the definitions, as far as the words or the drafting is concerned, are several. So we've got one parameter which the Supreme Court has elaborated. Then we have the second one which the expert committee has expressed. And Then we have the third, which is the private members bill by one of our MPs. And now we have this fourth, which tries to amalgamate and bring in a broader sense of the definition. Okay, I'll start off with you, ma'am. Where do you think the definition is not representative enough?
Okay. Being a trans right activist, I'm working for my community issues for like 2 decades, and I feel there's a problem in the definition because it's some kind of a overlap issue. I mean, if a person who doesn't know anything about trans or intersex, he or she can be confused. Because the definition of intersex and the definition of trans is very closely associated here. I mean, a trans is someone who is assigned either male or female biological sex, but follows the gender norms of the opposite sex.
Correct.
And that was very much clear in the the previous bill.
The private members bill.
Private members bill, but here it's written that neither wholly female or wholly male, or neither female nor male, and a combination of female or male. Here it comes. What do you mean by combination of female or male? We do know that the people who are intersex, or medically we call them hermaphrodites. So the combination, if we are telling that female or male, it's very much confusing. So the transgender is an umbrella term. And,
right.
and that the same definition was accepted by NACO, the National AIDS Control Organization, as well.
Right.
So people who are already in the movement, people who are working in the field of HIV/AIDS, we do know what we are. We are a kind of umbrella term with different native identities at different states.
So what is it that needs to be included rather, or let's say excluded and included, both?
I think the definition should be reframed. In the sense, the last bill, as you said, I mean, it's clearly said, I mean, the transgender is an gender identity, it's an umbrella term. So a person who is biologically male or female but following the gender norms of the opposite sex, it could be a female to male trans or a male to female trans.
Okay.
That is very much enough.
So that it should be limited to just that.
Yes, because if you are telling here that neither female nor male, combination of female or male, that people can get confused. What do you mean by combination? That is very much close to intersex.
Okay, ma'am, you would like to?
Yeah, I would like to add. I think what Amrita is also trying to say is there is already umbrella definition and then sub definitions in the private members bill.
Okay.
Yeah, it includes not only sub sections of transgender, which is hijras, jogtis, jogapas, all of that, as well as intersex.
Okay.
Yeah, it should not be mixed, because then any politician or bureaucrat can use it maybe for the community but also against.
Okay, so what you're saying is the private members bill says that person whose sense of gender does not match with the gender assigned at birth.
Correct.
Right.
That's the first.
Exactly.
That's the
Okay,
first.
and the second is includes trans men, trans women, gender queers, and socio-cultural identities.
Correct.
So that
Which is
is the
hijra.
best representative
Correct.
of the definition.
Correct.
Okay, so coming to it, ma'am, I want to understand, but why does the government then make it so broad? Where do you find is the problem? Because the consultation process has been pretty wide.
I'm not sure about the consultation process. It is happening, it has not happened. I think the reason why I'm saying the private member bill or even NALSA judgment, because there were a lot of community consultations, with transgenders, hijras, jogtis, jogopas, all of them. When this bill came in, it was more from the experts.
Okay.
And so I would have preferred...
So it's a top-down approach.
Correct.
So it's not a...
And therefore, even with good intentions, top-down usually do not take care of... Macro solutions cannot solve micro problems.
Oh, so what you're trying to say is this is the definition included in the bill is actually what is normally understood in the society. It's a representation of that notion, not the exact representation of the transgender.
Correct. It is what society would want to think, that all the transgender are intersex, most of them are not intersexed.
Correct, correct.
And therefore it should not be mixed up.
Uh-huh.
It rather than talking about human rights, it talks about biology. I think we should focus on human rights, and therefore much more clearer definition is needed rather than this trying to do a hodgepodge.
And according to you, the clearer definition is what Mr. Trichy Shiva presented in his private member's bill.
Yeah, and also I'd like to add that we community know what the definition could be. I mean, just for an example, in 2008, with help of UNDP, we did organize our first national trans consultation. That was followed by NACP 4 planning meeting. Then there also we came out with working definition of hijras and trans, and that is well accepted. I mean, for the targeted TI programs, for the CBOs, for the trans individuals, organizations. So we know what we are already. So I mean, then what's the point? I mean, that expert kind of a body giving a different kind of a definition that we cannot connect with.
Okay. It's time for us to head into a break. When we return, we will talk about the provisions which allows the district magistrate to issue identity certificates to transgender. Welcome back. The Transgender Person Protection of Rights Bill enables the district administration to issue certificate of identity for a third gender for transgender person. The bill imposes punishment of up to 2 years and fine for violating any of the provisions.
A transgender person may make an application to the district magistrate for a certificate of identity indicating the gender as transgender. The district magistrate will issue such certificate based on the recommendations of a district screening committee comprising of chief medical officer, district social welfare officer and a representative of the transgender community.
Punishment provided is 6 months to 2 years. I feel that is a little too little. There should be actually a financial penalty, compensation over and above only the punishment of this kind, because after all, once the any violation is done, there is a person whose life is directly affected. So there should be some provision for compensating that person.
The bill recognizes offences like begging, forced or bonded labour, denial of use of a public place, denial of residence in household or village, and physical, sexual, verbal, emotional and economic abuse. Violation of these provisions will be considered an offence and will attract imprisonment between 6 months and 2 years and a fine.
It is a social change, in fact. And social change cannot come through an act, through a bill. It needs a general people desire and social acceptance. People should be given recognition who recognize the transgenders.
The Supreme Court in its judgment in National Legal Service Authority versus Union of India in 2014 directed the government to grant transgender rights to choose the third gender as gender. It had also directed the government to include transgendered people in all welfare programs for the poor, including education, healthcare and jobs to help them overcome social and economic challenges.
The Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill 2016 seeks to prohibit the discrimination against transgender persons. The bill also instructs the government to include all possible provision to ensure that no transgender person faces discrimination because of their gender identity. The bill aims to bring social and economic equality and justice to transgender persons. With cameraman Sudipto Das, Nishtha Malhotra for Rajya Sabha Television.
Health issues are the most important aspect of this bill, but it's a principle that has been laid out. It has not been specified or spelled out as to what is the kind of specific health support that the community, the society, the transgenders need. Right. Ma'am, if you can explain to me, what exactly, specifically, are we looking at in terms of support health support for this community?
Right. So there are two sides to this health support. One is, of course, any health, access to any health services that any other individual gets, transgender must get. Because we have male wards and female wards, often that is also an issue when transgender requires that. Over and above that, there is a specific need that transgender person would have. Either when there is a male to female transgender, there might be a need for feminization, safe, free and legal feminization process, or from female to male, then male transformation. Doctors are not available who can do that, they are not trained, they are afraid because they don't know what the law says, and people ridicule because of stigma and discrimination. So many transgender are really either they have to spend a lot of money or they go through the illegal or unsafe processes, and that lead to a lot of health problems and issues.
What is the existing situation of the health support that you have right now, apart from what ma'am has said, and what are the costs involved in this kind of a...
Okay, actually the main problem we have identified already, the approach is top to bottom. So the approach should be bottom to top. I mean, we are not defaming or criticizing, but I think government needs to understand the problem when they will have a consultation or kind of a clear kind of a conversation with us. I mean, being a part of the community, I know the problem they are suffering. As Sonal ma'am correctly said, there is no kind of a feminization services available in any of the government hospital except Tamil Nadu. And yeah, and also I think in Mumbai also there is only one government hospital, but apart from that in a city like there's a capital and there is no such services where people like us should go. It's both for female to male and male to female trans, and it's not an easy process. I mean, there are legal implications also.
Right, I mean, a deterrent for the
yes.
process.
If one has to go for the sexual reassignment surgery, before that he or she needs to have certificate from the clinical psychologist, at least 2. That will approve the first stage, and with the help of those 2 certificates, the surgeon will give another certificate after the surgery. So these 3 certificates will help us to change our name, gender or any other official identities. And also the feminization process itself includes the hormone replacement therapy. There are other kind of body parts changing. For example, if I want to change my voice, and also, for example, if I want to implant silicone or top surgery, who are F2M. So there are a range of, surgeries, or there are a range of, process steps that is involved. So sexual reassignment surgery is not just the surgery itself. It's a long process, and I think there should be services, there should be help or support available because it's very costly. You have asked about the cost. For your example, if I have to go for the sexual reassignment surgery in Delhi, it will start from 2.5 to 3 lakhs.
Oh my God.
And the community cannot bear it.
So
either they have to go for quacks, or either they have to involve themselves in sex work or any other things to get the money. So they are really suffering, and that picture should be changed immediately.
Correct. Ma'am, you pointed out earlier that the role of the state governments has been completely is not there in the bill.
Yes.
And why do you think this has been done? What is the reason?
Well, people who wrote the bill should be saying this, but I think it's a hurry-burry bill, probably, and things need to be really thought through and consulted. On one hand, we are saying India is a federal country. We are saying 60-40 spending. Health is a central as well as state subject, all of it together. There has to be a role of state and a responsibility. If this is a transgender protection right, it should be somebody's duty.
So what you're saying is we have a central council, but there is nothing at the state level. Straight away then you have the district magistrate. Okay, now if I put to you, and also you ma'am, if the center feels that even if we bring in the state, it may complicate the implementation process. Just posing to you. The experience of the center has been such that the implementation may become more weak if the state is brought into focus,
Yes.
and if they want to control and implement it at the earliest with the bill in place, is there, you think deliberately it could have been done that the state has been kept out? And if that is the intention, then why not? Because implementation at the grassroots is badly required.
Yes, you use a good word, control. दिल बहलाने के लिए ये ख्याल अच्छा है गालिब. Okay, when you are working with population in lakhs, yeah, just imagine if center is going to decide for everybody how long people will have to wait. Yeah. Number one. Number two, from center to district authorities are of state. They respond to state.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything which comes from center, I work with the National AIDS Control Program, and I know that if you are not working with state, things will not move in district. Number one. Number two, center cannot be responsible for everything that happens in state. Law and order is state. Punishment, state. Health, state. State must take responsibility. The welfare boards that were supposed to be formed, if only they put back that provision in the bill, that state will be responsible to form the welfare board with community engagement. When you put community in the driving seat, they will then make sure that bill is followed well.
Right. Ma'am, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I mean, definitely is a state responsibility, but one thing is coming again and again that, I mean, from my point of view, the different, the different officials, the different department, I'm sorry to say, they are not sensitized enough. That's why we are waiting. It's like 2.5 years past when the NASA judgment has been passed. But even after 2.5 years, nothing important, nothing significant has been implemented. Because I think the main reason is, people, who are supposed to give services, they themselves are not clear. Who are these people? What kind of services they do need? And what we should do and what we should not do. So there's kind of a, I don't know, some kind of a curriculum or some kind of a conversation, some kind of a consultation needs to happen between the community and the service providers.
Got it. So basically the point you've made is that the state, the way the system has been fashioned in this country, you can't really ignore the state and directly manage it. Correct. So that's completely right, ma'am. Yes. I'll quickly and very quickly, ma'am, this is the last point I'll be able to cover. On the punishment, the punishment has been 6 months. Yes. And 2 years with fine. Yes. Now, there was also one of our experts who said that this is, it's not even good enough.
Yes.
So, what, why so?
Yes. Again, I think it is very important when you make a new bill, you refer to the other bills already existing. Yeah, I'm from Gujarat. I'm a very strong follower of Sardar Patel. He said, 5 years we will learn from British, then we will make our own. We are not still using our own. There is rape law for women. There are so many laws, domestic violence law. Look at that laws. What does that law say? And refer here, at least for women violence, there is at least 7 years of imprisonment, while is here maximum 2 years. Why? The most kind of vulnerable minority, one of my colleagues says, transgender is the most visibly invisible. Yeah, none of us know where they live.
Yeah, none of us.
Right. So we really need to think through that if we are doing special provision for the so-called weaker sex, this might be weaker among the weaker. And so operation within operations has to be kept in mind, I think.
Ma'am, very quickly, what do you think is the right amount of punishment, according to you, if you were asked? What should be the punishment and the reason for it? Why do you think it should be enhanced?
I'm giving you a very small example, and I think that will help us to understand. I mean, what's the problem? For example, in the earlier bill, it was written that it's up to the trans woman or man, or he or she has to decide whether he or she has to go for male identity, female identity, or transgender identity. Now, if I am a trans woman and I want to have the female identity, then if I am getting the official identity as a female, my name, gender, everything, then why I am not getting all the services, all the support, all the legal aid, whatever is provided to the female? You get my point? So, so that there is a gap. I mean, at the one hand, you are telling that it's up to you, whatever you will feel yourself, male, female, trans, and on the other hand, you are making the difference that okay, trans I mean, issues violation can lead to like 1.5 to 2 years, blah blah blah. But when Sonal correctly said that if it's like a violation of a, I mean, female or any kind of a rape or any kind of a thing, then it could be minimum 7 years. So this gap should not be there.
So if you have been given the right to choose a gender,
yes,
and if you've chosen the gender of a female, then the rights of the female should automatically accrue to you, and this bill should not stop you from being considered as a female.
Yes.
And then you can't be categorized as a transgender. That's the point you're trying to make. So all the laws that are due to women or the entire female population should automatically accrue to you.
Just to quickly add, I mean, we also need to think about other laws. I mean, adoption law, then also about marriage laws. I think those are also in the pipelines, because this is kind of a, yes, you are giving everything, but still there are some gaps. If you are telling us that you should be considered as a dignified other citizen of the country, then please think about what are the different kind of services, what are the different kind of rights they are enjoying, and what we cannot.
Good point, ma'am. Moving on, my colleague Nishtha Malhotra spoke to Rudrani Chetri, Director, Mitra Trust, and tried to get her point of view.
What does the bill seek to do, and how is it going to help the transgenders?
You go in the market, you ask for something, and the person who's giving you something will give you something totally different. So it's kind of useless for me. So it is just a sake of it will be a big book which means nothing for me.
What are the shortcomings in the bill?
I mean, this new bill kind of criminalize the whole thing, which is this is a part of our culture. Singing and dancing and going for toli badhai is part of our culture. If tomorrow I want some group of traditional dancers saying you won't do this, it is a crime.
Thank you, ma'am, for joining us on this discussion. It's time for us to end the show. You can email your suggestions and comments to law.rstv@gmail.com. You can also watch our shows on the RSTV page of YouTube. We'll be back with a new issue and a new episode. Keep watching Raj Sabha TV.